So welcome everybody to our Q3 September meeting of the Madison Tableau user group. We're very excited to have you all here and for our fun agenda today, which hopefully you're seeing on the screen. So we're going to kick things off with a poll just to get to know you all a little bit better. Then we have 3 presentations lined up for you today. And then at the end, we will be giving away some Tableau e-learning certificates and reminding you of some upcoming events. So specifically today, you are being welcomed by myself, Jen Shepard, and Nicole Kraft. We are your meeting hosts. We're thrilled to be able to present this fun lineup today. As I said, with 3 different speakers, we're going to have more of a hands-on flavor to this meeting than we have in our most recent couple of meetings. And we hope you all get a lot of great content out of it. So first, as I said, we want to get to know you a little bit better. So I'm going to switch over to Nicole, and we're going to have a little audience poll. So on your phone or on the Kahoot app, if you have that, or just on a web browser, go to kahoot.it, and that's the PIN number that you'll be using. And this will show up on her screen in a moment too. And we will just do a quick little poll here for fun. Nicole, I'll let you take it.
Some people joining in still. We'll give it a few minutes, a couple of seconds here and see if everybody can get a chance to get in.
We're not seeing your screen yet, Nicole.
Oh, hold on, sorry. Is that better?
There we go, thank you.
Now everybody's coming in quick. All right, so I think we'll get started. People didn't still come in here. We've gotten most people in. We'll get started on the poll. So the first question that we have for you is, how long have you been using Tableau? So less than a year, 1 to 3 years, 4 to 6 years, 6 or more. Okay, so the majority, which 1 to 3 years, it looks like. We've got a couple of people more than 6, and some beginners too with the less than a year. Our next question, okay, getting points for this too. The next question is, how would you describe your Tableau skills? So one of our presenters today is going to talk about how to assess your skills, and this is kind of a little pre-check to see where you think you're at right now. Okay. Beginner, intermediate, just 2 Jedis out there.
We won't make you prove it.
Yeah, Rob's moving up there in the score. I don't know who Jedi is, but we'll keep going here. So the third question is, have you attended any Tableau training? This is yes or no. We'll follow this up with what type in a second. Jedi is really quick here. Oh, did I just pass over that? I'm sorry. So of those that did say yes, what kind of training did you attend? So like Tableau e-learning, a virtual or the instructor-led training, either in person or online, and internal training maybe from within your company, or you look at like YouTube and do like how-to videos on there, follow those conference sessions. YouTube is pretty popular. I think that's probably where a lot of people go now. And then the Tableau e-learning as well. This last year with the COVID, they had opened that up for free. So I'm sure that's why we have a lot of people looking at that. And there's our scorecard again. And the last question is, what's your certification status? Have you taken a certification through Tableau? And if so, what kind? So like certified desktop, either in data analyst, associate, desktop, or server. You're working on it. You don't plan to be certified, or you already have some, but you're gonna get more. And okay, looks like not planning to be certified is the majority here. Okay, and that's all I have for our survey. I'm going to let, oh. Okay, Jedi won apparently.
One, our all answers were correct though.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Nicole. That was nice to learn about you. I swear, every meeting we have, we get a nice distribution like that. We've got some beginners, we have some people who've been using this a long time. That's fantastic. So hopefully there'll be a little something for everybody today. All right, I will take the screen back. Just a couple more things before we get into our first couple of presentations. So hopefully, are we seeing the PowerPoint again? Could someone just confirm?
No.
I never
Yeah.
pressed Zoom. You are, okay. So just wanted to, I guess, reminisce a little bit and put in a plug for all of those who were able to attend our recent happy hour networking event. We had a great time. We had some pizza, we had some cookies, we gave away some swag. It was a lot of fun. We are kicking around the idea of maybe trying to do one more of those before the weather doesn't cooperate, because we want to do that outside for safety reasons. So if that sounds like something you would be interested in, whether you attended our previous one or not, go ahead and put that in the chat or in our Slack channel if you're there. We'd just like to get a sense of if people find interest in that or not. I personally had a great time and would love to do it again, but would want to make sure we'd have somebody there with us. Also wanted to thank the members who were able to come out and help out with the lunch volunteering that we did a few weeks ago. We made hundreds of sandwiches and then we delivered them to some low-income families in the northern part of our city. And I just loved going there. They're very well organized, and it's just such a great feeling to help out our community. We will be doing another one of those on October 2nd. We have some spots available if you are interested and want to help out. We will be sending out the link to sign up when we do our recap email after this meeting. For those of you who are in our Slack channel or who are willing, our Slack site, I should say, or who are willing to join it, the link is posted there as well. So a couple of opportunities for you to sign up. It's a shift making sandwiches in the morning, and then the afternoon is spent driving around to different neighborhoods, and people come and pick up a sacked lunch. So it's a lot of fun, and would love to have more of you join us if you can. All right, and with that, we are going to get into our first presentation of the day. So we have a speaker coming to us all the way from Norway. This is Tora. I'm probably not saying that quite correctly. I'm sure he'll introduce himself a little bit as well. Tora is a Tableau Jedi who's been using Tableau since version 7.0, which was more than a couple of years ago. He is in Bergen, Norway, and he is a very experienced trainer there, trains all around Europe. He's trained over 1,300 people in 15 different countries. He's a tug leader for the Norway Tug and was also just recently named a 2021 Tableau Ambassador. So congrats on that. He has many years, over 20 years of experience as a consultant, advisor, pre-sales, training, and so on. Also really likes Tableau swag. I see you're wearing a Tableau shirt today that I have never seen. So there's probably a story behind that one. And today he'll be talking with us about how to accurately assess Tableau skill level. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Tora.
Thank you. The T-shirt hit me data one more time. That was handed to me and a lot of other people from the Tableau user group community at the last Tableau conference in Europe. So it's exclusive.
Ooh, exclusive swag.
So let's see if I manage to share my screen. Can you see a notepad?
No, it's your PowerPoint.
Yes, we do see your PowerPoint. It's just not in presentation mode quite
Yeah,
yet.
so then it is the wrong screen I'm sharing. Give me a second. I just changed my job, so I have a new computer, so it takes kind of get used to everything. So let's see, share. Whenever you see something.
We're seeing your Tableau now with some countries listed in Notepad.
Yeah.
Is that what you're? Yep.
And that was
okay.
that's a trick as well. So now I've written down all the countries that people have visited in Notepad, and then if you copy that, go to Tableau and paste it in, you will get a clipboard, which is on your temporary drive somewhere. And I'll just clear my screen and double click on country, so we can see where people have visited. Of course, there were some people who actually come to Norway, to Bergen, where I live, but otherwise people are, I guess, the Netherlands and UK were the people who were closest to Norway. I guess there was no swag for that winner, but just wanted to show that trick as well. So I was planning then to open up my PowerPoint. Let's see if that will open up in the correct screen. Can you see the picture of me and PowerPoint?
Good to go.
Perfect.
Yep.
So as I mentioned to Jen earlier as well, to pronounce my first name is not very easy, and very often my last name ends up with a Levinson instead of Levinsen, but it's Tore Levinsen, which is my name. The presentation that I have here will be available afterwards. I'm not sure how you are sharing in your Tableau user group, but it will be available for you at least. So this is an overview of my training experience since version 7, as mentioned, when field maps was a new feature in Tableau. And this is something that everybody now know how to use or are using, I guess. And the first time I lay my hands on Tableau was when my boss at the time downloaded something called Excel on speed. I installed Tableau, connected to the data at the customer site, and then 15 minutes later, I created a dual axis, which was the whole purpose of trying to solve something. I also have done a lot of certifications, as you can see on the right-hand side, and that's some of the things that I will talk about today as well. So the agenda is becoming a Jedi, or how can you become a Jedi? So on the Kahoot, that there were 2 of those. I was one of them. By the way, I was also the one who won the Kahoot, so I'm very happy about that, since it was not not actually giving correct scores, but that's fine. So I'll talk about some resources on how to become a Jedi, how to get certified, or what to think about, what to consider, and so on. Also, if you want to take the next step, if you are very comfortable in using Tableau, you might want to become a trainer, either internally in your company, or if you work as a consultant in a different company and would like to train others. I'll give you some pointers there as well, and also talk about how I became a trainer. And then when it comes to evaluate the skills of others, or yourself, of course, but something that you will experience, or at least I experience quite a lot when I do training and try to figure out which training fits for which people, depending on your skill set and your prerequisites, and also when we are employing people, consultants, if it's people straight out of school, or if it's people with a lot of experience, what kind of skills do we look for? Of course, it might be, and most likely will be a bit different in the US versus the Norway and in Scandinavia, but I think there will be several things here that are somewhat similar. And then if you would like to get that specific job with your Tableau skills, what should you do to get there? Of course, that's also kind of a loop back to how you become a Jedi, because if you are a Jedi, then you might get the job you want if it requires you to know Tableau. So on Tableau, its own homepage, it was mentioned this e-learning. And if you want to do that e-learning, Tableau has something called a season pass. I think that's still available, where you can, for a reasonable amount of money, you can have a 90 days access to all e-learning, all training that are available. You can sign up to either do e-learning or to any of these live training classes or live virtual training classes. You might even meet me there as a trainer sometimes. But in here, you could also do a skill assessment. So you can go through a couple of steps to see what kind of training is suitable for you based on your skill set, and also the different roles. What kind of learning paths should you choose depending on, do you want to be a data analyst? Do you want to be a data prepper to fix and prepare data before you share it with other people? Are you not just a consumer? Then there's different learning paths that you could use. So this is a nice place to start your skill assessment as well, to build your skill set, and to improve and get ready to do certification if that's something that you're interested in. And then the more trainings you do, eventually you will come to the end of the training. You can take the different tests, which on this e-learning is so that you have multiple choice questions and answers. If you fail, you try again. And if you fail, you try again, and eventually you most likely won't fail anymore, and you will be building this skill set, or these badges that you can share with your in social media, to your boss or to whoever likes to look at it. I showed it to my kids, but they were not very impressed. They're more impressed with my Tableau t-shirt collection, and I see them more than often in my t-shirts walking around. So when it comes to certification, Tableau has a lot of these, or not a lot of these. They have a few of these actually, but they're changing now a bit. We see in the middle here this data analyst that's brand new. It's actually in beta testing. I'm going to do this in a couple of weeks, so I don't know too much about it yet, but it's going to cover a bit more than the specialist desktop, as you can see on the left-hand side, where you're going to prove your basic skills and product knowledge. And then it's going to replace the one on the right-hand side, which is the certified associate, which is I think it was 3-hour proctored exam, where you have to sit all alone in a room, and you're not even allowed to go to the bathroom, at least when you sit at home and do it like I did. Somebody's watching you on your webcam, and you have a score, a fail or pass, that you will get in that one. What's also really good about these is that I think I have put in a link in here. If I click on it, something should happen, or if not, then I'll go over to my, just going to find my, where was that? No. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Maybe I should actually click on the link. That works way better. All of these exams, if you want to do certification, you will see that what is required. Do you need to have any experience like this, 3+ months, for example? You can download the prep guide, and I have already done that. So you don't have to do it, or I can put it in here. So in this these prep guides for the desktop specialist, for example, there's a lot of information on how the exam works, so on and so on. But also you can see that what are you being tested on? Well, connecting and preparing to data, exploring and analyzing data, and so on. And then in the end of all of these, there are practice exam questions. So multiple questions, multiple answer questions that you can do in here for this one, or for the data analyst. You have some practice questions. How should you use, which formula should you use to get the number of items in the equipment list? And then also you would like to create something based on some data set. So there's a lot of hands-on in these exams. always worrying when there's 4 different potential answers and you have connected to data, you have done some calculations, and you think that the increase of sales in the northern region for the last 2 years is 15.2%, and it's not any of the possible answers. Then you just have to try again and find the correct ones. Of course, in these prep guides, there is also the answer in the end. I put in the in my presentation, there's a link in the notes to also at least I think it's 3 different blogs of people who have done these certifications, and they have talked about the preparation, the walkthrough of the exam, and what to be prepared for. And I think Jen mentioned, and I forgot also in the beginning here, if there's any questions during my presentation, you could put it in the chat, and I guess Jen and Nicole will ask me questions if there is any. If not, then we'll summarize and do that in the end of my presentation. Is there any questions so far, Jen? Or
no, none so far.
Okay. So when it comes to building your skills and also checking your own skill set, the Tableau community is amazing in the way of all these different types of community-led programs, where if you really have some extra time, you could do a makeover Monday. On the Monday, you could do a workout Wednesday, and you could do sports with Sunday, and so on. The good thing about this is that when you're building a visualization, you have to, of course, consider the data, prepare, maybe adjust the data and try to analyze the data before you then present something. And then the community will guide you and evaluate you and give you feedback. And that's a great way of learning as well, instead of sitting all on your own, building, trying to use Tableau and trying to figure out stuff. And if you don't share it with other people and get feedback, then hopefully you get better, but you will get even better when you get feedback from Zen masters and Jedis and the community in general. So there's plenty of these, both so you can attend on your own and try to learn, but also as an example, the Makeover Monday, when there's one data set and there's 200 people attending and presenting their take on that specific data set, you will get a lot of inspiration and ideas to improve your own techniques as well and build your own skill set. And if you would like to become a trainer, there is on Tableau Public a dashboard where we have at the moment the current trainer schedule. So let's see, it's US, Canada, EMEA combined together in here. So depending on the time zone, for some people it's early in the morning, for some people it's in the afternoon. But to be allowed to train or deliver training on the official Tableau training, you need to attend the trainer. When I did that the first time back in 2012, that was before the pandemic. So I flew to London and spent 5 days there with people from all over Europe, learning how to train on Tableau, basically. And at that time, I got my first training in Geneva in Switzerland a couple of weeks later. And then since the score from the audience they were happy with the trainer, I then was certified, and then I have been going on from there. And you will also see that there's some prerequisites to become a trainer, as you can see in here. If you would like to start, or when you start with the desktop 1 and 2. So you need to attend desktop 1 and 2 first, and then you need to have this certified associate exam, which now will be replaced by this data analyst exam. And when you have done this, you have to, it says down here a bit further down, you have to You have to teach a minimum of 5 teachers for each course, and you need to have an average satisfaction score of 8.6 out of 10. And coming from Norway, where we are a bit, shy, and we don't talk to each other, and we sit as far as away we can when we are on the bus, getting people to give you 10 out of 10 when you deliver training is not as easy. I've seen when I've done training for US based client, the 10s are a lot easier to be gained. So I'm not sure if that's a cultural thing or not. So if you want to move on to train desktop 3, visual analytics, prep, and all the other things, you see that you first need to do these desktop 1 and 2, have a nice CSAT score, and then you can attend desktop 3 training, and you currently teach desktop 2, and then you need to get a new trained trainer for these as well. And I do a lot of training, as was mentioned. I'm getting close to 1,350 people now trained. Next year, I'm going to be guest teacher at a university in Norway, and then I'm going to train over 600 people in Tableau. So that's going to increase quite a lot. The challenge is always when you are, if you're training or you want to attend desktop 1 fundamentals, what I always do when the customer asks what kind of requisites do we need to have, what kind of level should people be on. Desktop 1 by design, that's fundamentals. So you really don't need to have any knowledge. You should know something about data, but you don't have any technical or analytical background. So this screenshot of an Excel in here, I'm going to just open up the Excel as well. It really don't help too much because it's the text. There's so much text in here, but I always send this over. So it says there's a description of the training. There's a target group. So who is it for? There's some objectives. What will you learn? And then I have the requirements. Well, for desktop 1, you need to have Tableau installed. That's basically it. So I've had people attending that training who never used Tableau before, and they are most of them are really eager and happy after 2 days, because one of the things they learn is that they can't break their underlying data source. People are afraid that they are messing up, or they can mess up their underlying data source, for example. If you want to attend desktop 2, the intermediate training, well, you need to have Tableau, and you should have either attended fundamentals or somewhat similar experience, meaning using Tableau for 1 to 3 months. And for those 2 trainings, normally there's always somebody who has some, it goes a bit slow for some people. Some are done with the exercises even before you have presented the exercise or the agenda, because they feel it's a race to finish, or they just, it's too easy for them, basically. But when it comes to desktop 3, the advanced one, there is a reason for it being an advanced level class. There have been people attending this training who, when we are going to focus on table calculations, advanced table calculations, or level of detail calculations, and there's a lot of theory going on. We talk about all kinds of detailed stuff, and then I ask them, what favorite table calculation do you have? And then they just, I don't know what a table calculation is. That's a waste of time, basically, for them to attend that training. They have then assessed their skill level to be way higher than is required for this training. So I can share this Excel as well if anybody is interested in having a look at what kind of requirements do you need for the different type of training that are available for desktop and Tableau prep. So I'll close this and go back here. Tableau also has, this is a link in that PowerPoint. Tableau also has a skill by Tableau license type. So it's a bit similar to the learning parts. Are you a creator, the one that are using Tableau desktop and might even use the prep builder? Then you can see in here, we'll zoom in a bit, that there's different types of things, that resources that you can do before or to improve your skills basically. And the same goes for Explorer. That's the from the if you're connected on the server side. As a trainer, you get people to answer a survey, which is voluntarily and also anonymous. And this is the last trainings I've had, and people tend to be happy. And then you're wondering, why are people giving you 7.5 when you have an average of over 9? Always exciting. And then you get a detailed overview. This is a real example from a Norwegian client. So some of these comments are in Norwegian, some is in English. So for example, he makes it interesting, and I think Tableau is an excellent tool to use. And then it continues, that's hidden here. But I'm not very good in English, so I don't understand how I can do the exercises because I can't read English, and then they give you a bad score. So that's also sometimes exciting. I've had people this week that dropped out of intermediate training after half a day because they had assessed their skill level to be better, because they used Tableau in a way that they are looking at other people's Tableau reports, download it and adjust them a bit. And then they see that when they're going to be building or doing exercises, they realize that this was too advanced or too difficult for them. So it's important before you attend training to assess, see what kind of requirements are for that particular training, so that you don't waste your own time and money on attending training where it's too difficult, basically. So finally, preparing for your dream job, Tableau Public, I guess that's something that most of you know about or have heard about. There was just a new news flash now from Tableau Public that they now have just passed 2 million people who are authors in there, meaning they have at least published one dashboard in there. I have to say, for me personally, I have not been using it too much because I work at customer sites and I build a lot of stuff for them, but that's not stuff that I can share kind of to the public. I do attend Tableau user groups, the Norwegian one or Scandinavian meetups, and then when I do presentation, I always share them in here, or I do some use it also for personal personal analytics. The point is, if you would like to get a job where Tableau skills are required, you attend training, you watch these videos, you attend these community-led happenings to get better, and you build stuff and share it on your Tableau Public. When you share it on your Tableau Public, it's available for other people. You can publish it on your LinkedIn or Twitter profile, and people will see that you have then eventually built up a base of different type of visualizations that shows and proves your skill level. In here, you can of course follow other people like I do. If I see something or see a Zen master that are producing way more material than I do, then I follow them and get inspiration, download, open up, check what kind of data they are using, what kind of techniques, what kind of visualizations, and then try to learn and improve and use that on my own as well. And when you have that Tableau Public profile, why don't you build yourself a interactive resume like you can see in here, a lot of people have done. You don't have to start all from scratch and build something from scratch. You can see what other people have published on Tableau Public through this link in here, and then you can borrow, steal, I don't know, get inspiration from other people and fill in your information. because the there was a survey or back in a year ago or something, saying that recruiters spend roughly 6 seconds reading each job application. So it's important to make yours stand out. So if you have this one, you can of course print it and add it to your resume, and also add a link so people can go in and see that it's interactive. So data literacy is now one of the most in-demand skills. So your resume should reflect that as well. There was also mentioned that 66% of the academic decision makers, they rate data skills as important, data skills and data literacy, whilst the recruiters and the employers, they have, there's 81%. So it's important to build up and show your skills. And use LinkedIn, Twitter, present, share everything that you can, show that you are an active person, follow Zen Masters, Jedis, ambassadors, search for the hashtag DataFam, find information, share, and be active. And you will have, you will put in a, create your own legacy that you can use when you're looking for a new job as well. I've had people applying for a job as a senior data analyst or senior consultant in the companies that I've worked, where they have listed their data skills, basically working in a kindergarten, but they have used Excel quite extensively. And we're looking for people who knows data warehouse, SQL, and Tableau, Power BI, and so on. So make sure that it fits. It fits the questions that you get from your employer or the recruiters. So that was on time, I think, or even a few minutes before.
Yes, well done. We do have a couple of questions for you. So one question is, do you have a sense of what industries the people that you teach are from?
Well, they're from all over the place. I do training, public trainings where people sign up. So I don't know who they are before, more or less before we meet. And there's people from non-profit organizations. There's people from government, from finance, from sales, marketing. So it's basically, it's quite common, since I'm also working as a consultant and an advisor. I see that a lot of companies, if let's say the IT purchase Tableau, then it takes very short time before the marketing sees a presentation they would like to use Tableau, and then the finance people or the sales people or the statisticians would like to use Tableau. So it's spreading quite fast, but it's open. I mean, I do training for whoever wants it, of course, but it's from all kinds of organizations.
Great, thanks. Another question, this one from Sarah, that was Nina's question before. Do you have some specific suggestions on how people can self-assess their Tableau skill levels? You had terms like intermediate and beginner. How would somebody say, okay, I actually am only at the intermediate level?
There was a couple of slides in the beginning where if you go into the e-learning portal, without having to sign in or pay any money, you can do this quiz and the skill assessment. And also on Tableau, the webpage Tableau, if you go to Tableau Learn and see the classroom training or virtual trainings, all of the different levels that are available in there, they are also listing the prerequisites. So the same or similar as I had in that Excel sheet as well.
Okay, great. And a couple questions about the certification exam. So one from Gary wondering, are there any concerns that new data analyst certification is still in beta?
Yeah, well, what do you mean? What was the question? It is in beta, yeah, but I didn't get the question. Or what?
He just said any concerns. Gary, if you want to follow up about that, go ahead.
If it's a concern that it is in beta yet, well, it's a brand new one. So Tableau has published it and made it available for, I think it's the 1,000 people, the first 1,000 people get a discount to do it. And it's a bit, you get a bit longer time when you're part of the beta. There will be more questions than there will be in the final exam. But if you pass, it will still last for 2 years and count as a kind of proper certification. So it's basically Tableau trying a bit different approach than just launching a certification. So if you haven't signed up for the beta for it and you're eager to try it to save some money or your employer's money and get some extra time when you're doing the exam, then go for it. I'm testing it, as I said, in 2 days. No, sorry, 2 weeks, but it will take, I think they said 90 days before you get the results. So it's going to be exciting. Maybe get it for Christmas.
Yeah, that's some delayed gratification. And then last question before we go on to our next speaker, Jennifer had asked that if some certifications were being retired. And yes, I heard the same thing. I believe it's the desktop certified associate and certified professional. Is that correct?
The certified associate, that will be taken away at least. And then you have some partner related ones. We haven't gotten any information about that yet, but I think that's certified associate consultant that might continue if you're a partner of Tableau. But if you're kind of an end user, then at least the certified associate will disappear, and then the data analyst will replace that one.
All right, great. Thank you so much. We appreciate your presentation. And I will take the screen back from you here, and we'll go on to our next speaker. Nicole, do you want to introduce Emma?
Yeah. All right, so our next speaker is Emma Lai, and she's a rotational analyst at American Family Insurance, working on her first rotation in home site sales optimization and analytics. She got involved with the Madison Tableau user group in 2020 during her people analytics internship with the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. Graduating UW-Madison this last May, she hopes to use her degree in economics, psychology, and religious studies, as well as her experience with Tableau to better understand and quantify the motivations and consequences of human behavior. And then we'll let Emma take over the screen here and start.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that intro. And hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here today. First of all, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. So I just want to say that I have only about 1 year of Tableau experience. And so my first kind of initial start in Tableau is really with my internship last summer at the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago doing people analytics. And that's really where I started to use funnel charts and to think about talent acquisition pipelines and stuff like that. I also have brought those skills over into my work here at HomeSite with American Family Insurance, just looking at sales data. And so the data that I'm actually going to be using today is very similar to the stuff that I work with on a daily basis. A funnel chart is particularly useful for sales data because it helps answer the question, is my company operating efficiently? A funnel can quickly show sales leadership, what proportions of calls are coming into the call center that are ending up as sales. And so being able to determine the efficiency by location, by type, and whatnot is very important. And the funnel chart can do that quite quickly. Real quick before we dive in, again, on my screen, you'll see that sales data we'll be using. That's also available on my Tableau Public page that Jen, I think, will be sharing in the chat here. Also, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop any questions, ideas, thoughts in the chat, and I'll try to get to them. Otherwise, I'll address them at the end as well. So without further ado, let's dive in. So go ahead and clicking on sheet 1, we first take a look at the data. We notice that the first thing that I notice, at least, is that location is a measure and not a dimension. This is a problem because we want our locations to be discrete, separate things, right? It doesn't exist as a continuous variable. So we want to drag location into dimensions. And to do that, very simple, click and drag And you can see that turns blue and it becomes a discrete variable. Building that funnel, then we start by dragging measure values into the columns section. So we notice in this measure values card down here, we are not very interested in the number of records. We're really interested in the number of outbound calls, the quotes, and then the sales that we made. So deleting that, we get this long bar. And to differentiate that by type, we drag measure names from the dimension section to the rows. To unsquish this and make it a little easier for you to see, I'm going to change the view from standard to entire view. And then you can see this great bar chart, but great bar charts aren't useful in a funnel. So we're going to go ahead and change from the automatic to the area type in the marks card. I'm going to do a couple formatting things here. This could be tedious to people who know what I'm doing, but if you're new to Tableau, this I hope will be useful to you not only in building your funnel charts, but in building other visualizations. So first, I'm going to make the color completely opaque, and I'm going to make it pink because who doesn't like pink? I'm also going to add labels, so that's a little bit easier to see. So to do that, I'll drag measure names down to label and measure values onto label as well. So now we can see how many outbound calls we have and how many quoted and how many sold. It's a little redundant then to have this header, so I'm going to right click and uncheck the show header button. I'm also going to right click on the white area here and select format in order to remove some of those grid lines. To me, they look a little messy, so I like to clean them up. So if you go up to the lines section, you can make sure that grid lines is selected as none, zero lines is none, and axis rulers is none. So now we have what looks like the first half of our funnel. And so the last thing I'm going to do on this sheet is double click and call this positive. I'm then going to right click and press duplicate. And I hate having sheets with the same name, so I'm going to rename it negative, and you'll see why in a second. So going down to this bottom x-axis here, I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose edit axis. Ignoring most of the stuff on this card, I'm going to go down to scale and check the box called reversed, and that's where the magic happens. Now the other side of the funnel appears, and what we have to do next is simply to combine them. Obviously, it's a little bit redundant to have both measure names and measure values labels twice. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those from the labels card. Also, while I'm here, I do want to add a location filter for my funnel so that I can quickly compare different locations to the number of sales they got. To do that, I'm going to go into location in the dimensions, right click, and then press show filter. I'm going to make sure this doesn't just apply to this half of the funnel. I'm going to make sure it applies to both worksheets. So I'm going to go to the drop-down menu here and click Apply to Worksheets, all using this data source. So now we have this filter that works with checkboxes, but in order to streamline this a little, I'm going to change it to single value list so that now we have radio buttons that we can shift between. All that's left now is to combine and make that funnel final. So I'm going to add a new dashboard down in the bottom menu here. I'm going to drag positive as well as the negative worksheet next to each other. And now we have a graphic designer's nightmare. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit by deleting the headers as well as the titles. So to do that, I'm going to right click again on that bottom axis and then uncheck show header this time. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And then I'm going to go up and press hide title by right clicking. So in order to get rid of that middle white line that seems to be going through the funnel, I'm going to go up into the upper left-hand corner and press layout. And then I'm going to select one of the worksheets and change the outer padding to 0. We do the same thing on the other side. And we see that that line disappears, and now we have a full funnel. A couple more formatting things before I let you go here. I do want to add a dashboard title so people know what in the world's going on. Something we can title it is, you know, fun with funnels or something, but a tip here when thinking about what to title your charts or your dashboards is think about its function to the greater problem that you're solving. So in a larger project, I might say, this shows call to sale rankings among different locations. And so that points the person towards the question we're trying to answer while still informing them of what the funnel is trying to communicate. Finally, I want to toggle the filter so that it's not taking up so much space. I'm going to right click on the horizontal container here, and I'm going to check floating. That's going to pull it out of that tiled area. And I'm going to do some formatting, reshape it, make it look pretty by adding a background as well as a black border. And then what I'm going to do is go to the drop-down menu of the horizontal box, and I am going to add a show hide button. This creates a new object that can be completely independent, but also controls whether or not that filter shows up. I don't want it floating because I think that's a little clunky. It doesn't line up very well. So I'm going to go down to more options and uncheck floating. I'm then going to rearrange it on the dashboard so that it shows up in the upper left corner of the screen, redragging it so it's not taking up literally a quarter of the dashboard. And then I'm going to alt-click the button in order to hide the filter. And so now you have a fully functioning dashboard, a funnel chart that can be filtered by location. When presenting this to sales leadership, I might walk them through it saying, okay, we can see the number of outbound calls that are coming into our call center. And of those, we see 18,000 are about quoted, and then 3,000 of those are sold. If you wanted to compare to different locations, we can alt-click this filter up here and see that location 3 has a lot more sales than location 1 in the sense of proportions of calls to sales. So that's a really quick and useful way to use a funnel. Anytime that you have a process of elimination of something like that, then feel free and consider using a funnel chart. Thank you very much. I hope that was helpful. Please let me know what questions you have.
That's great, Anna. Yeah, lots of compliments in the chat from how simple and easy that was. A nice walkthrough. A couple of questions so far. So one is just clarifying the funnel is indicating that the sales or sold, I guess, at the bottom is a subset of the quoted, which is itself a subset of outbound, correct?
Right, exactly. Yep.
Okay.
So you could do this not only with sales, you could also apply this to sports, to music competitions, just about anything, right, that has that tapering and that elimination process.
Great, thank you. And then another question is, could you do the same thing using a dual axis to get this all on one worksheet instead of having to put the two sheets together?
So the short answer is it depends. And I know, Jen, that you wanted to share as well some of your applications, and there are many different ways to do funnels. The problem with doing a dual axis for this particular data set is because of the way the data is set up. So if we go to data source, we can see we've got a whole bunch of different entries by agent ID. That's not very aggregated, right? So we are relying very heavily on those measured values, the outbound, quoted, and sold, in order to tell us kind of what goes into the funnel. So if I only had like an aggregate that had so many, like a total number of sales, a total number of quoted, then we might be able to use dual axis. But because of the way the data is put here, it's better to use the measured values. Does that make sense?
It did to me. I'll let others chime in if they want to follow up on that question. And then one last question for you from a beginner, self-proclaimed beginner, April, asking, can you show all the locations, each with their own color, when someone has chosen the filter for all? So April, I think what you're asking is, instead of seeing all the data combined, can you see each location separately? Is that what you're getting at? Feel free to clarify your question there.
So if that's what you're asking, and you want to be able to see, like, make different funnels, essentially, you can definitely toggle by location in the sense of adding a parameter. I'm not going to go into that, but that would be one way to switch between the two. Right now, we kind of have that by selecting, one location. The drawback is that you can only see one location's data at a time. And so working with parameters, looking at, maybe making a second funnel, that kind of thing, might help you solve that.
One more came in. Can you add locations to the color marks? I think Xiaoming is thinking maybe a way to solve this.
Sure. So depending on the way that you do the funnel chart, this may or may not work. So let's try it, right? Let's try dragging location onto the color marks card. So you can, in this case, yes, you can see the different locations here, which is kind of fun. And I would obviously have to do this for the negative as well. In which case, now you have a very cool looking funnel. And you can really see the different locations. So yes, that's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, I think another possibility is you could put it on your rows shelf and then just have 3 funnels, one on top of the other, or build out the sheets in 3 times. There's a few different ways you could go about doing that. But you're right, April, your user may want to be able to look at each location and compare it to the others.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Good
Thanks
question.
so much, Emma. That was wonderful. This is looking like a circus tent, what you have here now. I'm getting that big top music in my head.
Absolutely. Thanks. And did you have something you wanted to add as well, Jen?
Yeah, sure. So I thought I would just share a funnel chart that I built for my work at the Department of Children and Families, a completely different technique, or I guess, a different technique. So just so you have some more alternatives in your toolbox here. So I won't go as step by step as Emma did. Looks like I'm not sharing quite yet. Hang on. There we go. Hopefully you're seeing my screen now with this Tableau. So I didn't do the negative and the positive, and it's not funnel shaped in the traditional funnel with the curves like Emma's was, but it still gets the point across that this top group, there are more of them, and then fewer of them make it to the next level, and so on. So this is fake data that I'm showing you now, but I use this technique to look at people who applied to our department and how many people then made it to the next phase of the hiring process. In this case, they had to pass a screening assessment. And of those, how many made it to the next phase? They actually got an interview. And then how many did we ultimately hire? So the way I did this is I did use measure names and measure values as well, just like Emma did, because I didn't want to count people only at one stage. All the people who were hired also were interviewed, also passed the screening, and also were applicants. So I needed everybody to count in every stage that was applicable for them. So I made these calculations to define who was in each of the stages. So what I end up with in my data are 4 new columns, all the people who made it, well, everybody made it as an applicant, but then all the people who made it to the interview stage and so on. And then I use those 4 calculations as my measure values. So I'll just show you one of them. Again, this is fake data, so this isn't really how our calculation went. This is just using Superstore. But the idea was if they meet our criteria, then I want to count them. So a couple of criteria I stuck in here, and then those are the IDs. So the IDs where those criteria were met, their name shows up in that column, otherwise it's null. And then I can use that calculation as a measure value. So the way I built this, as you can see on the screen here, is I put the measure value on size. I'm sorry, I should say I made my mark type a bar. I put my measure value on size, which then if I take that off, you'll see that they're all equal, but I don't want them to be equal. I need them to be sized by how many people are in there. I also put measure names on color because I wanted to be really clear that these were 4 distinct categories since you don't have that funnel shape. And then I just put a count of records. In this case, it's the customer names on rows so that it's building out the height of these as well. And then I just put the number and the label on the text, and there you go. Pretty simple way of getting a funnel. So just a couple of alternatives for you all to consider. Tammy, these are not real data. Any questions about this technique? Again, I know I didn't step through the whole thing. I just wanted to show you another way of getting a funnel chart. Okay, happy to take questions at the end too, if they come into the chat after I'm done here. But with that, I'm actually going to get back into my PowerPoint, and we'll move on to our third and final presenter. So next up, we have Sam Hern. Sam has been a data analyst at American Family Insurance in the life company area for 4 years. And his team works with multiple business areas in the life company to create reports and analytics. So he uses Tableau, SQL, and Python in his day-to-day work. And he's been a member of our group here at the Madison Tug since about 2016. So today, Sam is going to be talking to you about how to use the REST API in Tableau Server.
Right, thank you, Jen. Let me see, share my screen. Right. All right, can you see my screen? Should say Tableau extracts and the Tableau REST API.
Yes, I do see that.
All right. One sec. Jeez. Okay. So yep, reasons for this talk. So the steps for creating dashboards for ad hoc analysis and data exploration are a little bit different than if you have a dashboard that you're sharing with your business partners and you expect it to be updated every day. So, for an ad hoc analysis, data exploration, a lot of the times these are the steps that you complete. So you gather the requirements, you gather the data from different data sources. So at least I can speak for my team. We do not have all of the data in one table or even one database. We have to get it from a bunch of places depending on what we need to combine together. And we usually use SQL for that. We've also used Python a little bit for essentially cross-database kinds of merging the data together. But once you get the data all set up, you create your Tableau dashboards, you point to that data source, and then you publish it to Tableau Server, and that's kind of it. But when you're doing something for a KPI or continuous reporting, so the data is coming in every day, every week, whatever, an important step is that you have to update the dashboard with the current data. And that presents challenges, and I'll talk about some ways to overcome those challenges. So yeah, like I said, many dashboards are not static. There are different frequencies that the dashboards run. Especially if it's a KPI kind of dashboard, you want to track things every day, every week, whatnot. And then so Tableau extracts are great, and they get a lot of good performance benefits, especially if you have large data. But the problem is, and that's just yet another step that can go wrong. And so there needs to be a good way to refresh the workbooks if they are using extracts. And so what Tableau Server offers out of the box is when you go into Tableau Server, you can actually schedule the refresh to occur at a certain time in the day. And so this is what it looks like from at least the development account that I have in Tableau Online. Is you choose if it's daily, what time and what days you want, if it's a full or incremental refresh, and you click create.
Sam, we're seeing your mouse move on the PowerPoint presentation, not on your server screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. You've seen the mouse move where?
Over the extract refreshes REST API, the PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, one sec. Did I? Let me see. Okay, does that work better? Is that showing better?
Should be here soon. Now we see the text has problems with extract schedules.
Right, Zoom just quit on me. Let me see. I don't know why. It's just I all of a sudden had problems when I started presenting. Let me try this again. Can you see it now? Does it?
Yeah, we still, the slide says problems with extract schedules, assumes underlying data is available.
Yep, that's what I want to show.
Okay.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Don't know what's going on. So yeah, so this assumes that the underlying data is available by the time the extract refresh occurs. And then, so this requires rerunning the extract if not all the data is available when the extract refresh happens. And this is annoying for everyone. It's annoying for the end users. They're wondering, okay, why is this dashboard looking exactly the same like yesterday? And it's also annoying for the people who have to support it because they have to go in, they have to figure out what's going on, and then they have to refresh it or take whatever else steps that they need because the source data could also be hadn't been refreshed. Okay. So typical flow for updating dashboards. So, early morning, there's an IT job that refreshes database tables. And then let's say at 7 a.m., you have that SQL script that you put together to capture the data from all the different tables. And then at 7:30, you run the Tableau extract refresh, and then maybe you also send a subscription email out for everyone who's subscribed to the view. And so the ideal flow would be that instead of having this time-based like that, it would be event-based. So early morning, you have an IT job, and then there's some sort of program or some sort of process that waits for that to happen. And if it doesn't happen, it waits for it before it begins to create the data source for the Tableau visualizations. And then you wait until that's done, and then you create, or then you refresh the extract. And then you wait until that's done, and then you send out the subscription. So it's all event-based instead of time-based. So the first arrow is outside of Tableau. There are ways that you can do that, but it's not really Tableau related, so I'm not going to get into that. This, you can use the REST API to do that, and I'll demonstrate in a little bit how to do that with the REST API. And then the wait until done actually comes with Tableau. So if you're subscribing to a view, there actually is an option for the frequency. You can choose when data refreshes instead of a time. So that comes automatically. So what is REST? Okay, so it stands for representational state transfer. And it's essentially a programmatic way to interact with an external system. So Tableau is not the only tool that has a REST API. A lot of other tools have it. And so it contains different commands and locations for the resource. These are the most common ones. You have the get, which is more like you're figuring out information about a specific resource. So for instance, what permissions does this workbook have? A put would be like a kind of modify request. So you can remove a user's permission from a workbook. Post would be to create a project, create like a new resource like a project, and then delete is to delete a resource. So like deleting a Tableau project. And so with this, what you do is you start with information about what you're trying to get. So this is a query command, so the get. And then at the end of the day, you want the views that are in a workbook. And so views meaning dashboards and worksheets. And then, so you go from your most general to your most specific. So your URI base is like, where is the Tableau server or the Tableau online account that you're trying to reach? The sites is where, what the site ID is for your Tableau server instance or your Tableau online. So it's kind of like a partitioned, it's like a logical workspace so that if you're sharing a Tableau server with a bunch of other entities, you don't see each other's entities' data. And so that's what the site ID is. And then the workbooks, so you determine which workbook you want the views for, and then you get the views for that. So I'm going to just show step by step, and then I'll walk through a demo. So first step would be to sign in to Tableau server. And so it will give you the site ID and the authentication token that you need. Then so you need to get the workbook ID. And so that's the request that you would execute. So you can notice at the end, there's a filter option. And so you're actually telling Tableau to look for a specific workbook. And so you give it the name of the workbook. And so it returns the workbook ID, and then you take that and you issue the refresh command. And so at the end of this step, Tableau doesn't necessarily refresh it right then and then give you back a job ID. It will actually give you back a job ID, and then you have to go check the status of that extract job. And so you give it the job ID, and then it will tell you what % complete it is. And then at the end of that, you sign out. So let me go and show you, give you a demo of this. So you can see that, so I have a sample account on Tableau Online. I'll talk a little bit more about this towards the end, but a Tableau will actually give you a free development account to sandbox your API commands and whatnot. So I'm using that, and you can see that in the sample project, there are a few workbooks. So we're going to use those in this. Now I'm using a tool called Postman, and this just allows you to kind of more easily see what you're doing. So it's a good way to experiment with what you're trying to do before you actually put it into some sort of programming language. So the first thing I'm going to do is sign in. And so with this, I'm going to issue that post command that I was talking about. And then so this is the site for the Tableau Online that I'm interested in getting access to. And then so this is going to issue the sign-in request for that. You'll notice that in the body of the request, you can put in your username and password. You can also use a personal access token, and that's what I'm using here. For the content URL, you need the site name. So this is Tug Presentation, whatever. And so that's right here, this Tug Presentation. So that's just copied and pasted there. So I'm going to go over here and hit send. And so at the bottom, you can see that it gave me both a access token, and it also gave me information about the site that I logged into. Now this doesn't change, so you don't really have to worry about this, but the token will. So I'm going to copy and paste this over here to this section, the variable section, so that I don't have to copy and paste it all over the place. Okay, so now we're logged in. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the workbook ID, and I'm going to get the workbook ID for this word count, workbook. So if you look over here, I have a workbook named word count. So that's what this is doing right here. I'm going to send it. And you can see that it gives you back everything that it can find, because you could have the same workbook name in different projects. And so it found in the sample project, it found the workbook that's named word count. And so the ID for this is this EA19. Okay, I already copied this. This, just like the site ID, really doesn't change. So I just already copied it, so I don't have to copy it again. So now that I have this, I'm going to start the refresh. Okay, so this is the EA19, as you can see, and then the site ID is what I had before. So I'm going to go ahead and send that. Okay, so from this, we get the job ID. So I'm going to copy and paste this into the job status and send that. And so you can see that it's not finished yet, which isn't surprising. It usually takes 30 seconds or so to do that. So we'll come back in like a minute or so. Another cool thing that you can actually do with this API is you can save images, snapshot images, kind of like what's in a subscription. You can actually do that from the REST API. So I'll show you like how to do that here. You can specify what view you want. So similar to a workbook, each worksheet and each dashboard within a workbook, it has its own view ID. And so I already pre-copied this view ID here, and I gave it a filter that I want. Well, let's do it without this filter first. What I'm going to do is send it. Okay, and it's going to, yep, okay, there we go. So this is the static image that it sent, and you can see that it matches what is in here. Okay, and then you can also specify filters. So for instance, if I want the region just to be east, I can go ahead and add that parameter. I can send it, and then so it just filters to the east region there. So it's kind of a nice thing that if you wanted to do something outside of Tableau with subscriptions, like you wanted to pull out this image and give it a custom email message and maybe some other images from different workbooks, you can do it this way as well. Well, now let's check on the job. It's probably done by now, so I'm going to send this again. All right, so it is done. Progress is 100, so 100%. You can see finished code is 0, which means that it succeeded. So I'm going to go over to here. I'm going to do Shift F5, and I'm going to see that the word count now has a refresh time of 118. So that was 2 minutes ago. So you can see that that did refresh it. And so at the end of everything, what you'd want to do is just log out. And so I have the log out right here. And this gives you what you need. All right, just some finishing final remarks. Let's see. So like I said, REST API, you can get a free developer account. Doesn't cost any money, and you can do pretty much exactly what I did. I actually found out about this when I was preparing for this talk, so it's came in handy. Tableau has some very nice documentation with what is available, and I have a link to that there. Tells you all the methods. The ones that I showed are the ones that I use most often. Some of the other ones are more server administration kind of REST APIs, and I'm not a server administrator, so those aren't really applicable for me. And then using a free tool like what I showed you, Postman, to prototype is a great thing, and you can do it on just some sample data on the on your Tableau online site, and then when you're ready, then you can use your favorite programming language, like in my case, it's Python, and you can take these into production. And so for Python, there actually is a library out there that Tableau offers. You can read more about it in this link. Personally, I just like to use the request library, and I just make those API calls that I showed you. So I'll like just translate it from Postman to Python, the request library, and I find that it's just more flexible. You can do whatever the API, the REST API allows you to. You're not limited by a library on top of that. So that's just what how I like to work. And then after the questions, I'll take some questions, and at the end of this, I also have some step-by-step instructions for how you can get this to work in your development account. So if you weren't taking notes or didn't get everything down, don't worry, it's at the end of the slides. So are there any questions?
Yes, Sam, we actually have quite a few. So
Okay.
one you kind of just addressed was a question about, is there a particular programming language that you would recommend? So I know you said you prefer Python, but it sounds like many different programming languages would work with this. Is that accurate?
Right. Yep. JavaScript would work. Yeah, pretty much any language that can connect to the web would work.
Okay. Question, you showed an example where you used a filter. Can you also specify a parameter setting?
I don't think you can do that with the REST API. I think you would actually need to use the JavaScript API for that. So it'd be a little bit more complicated for that. So yeah, you can't really easily do it.
Okay. Next question, do you know if there are advantages of the REST API over tab command or vice versa?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit familiar with tab command from what it seems like. So tab command can do some of what I just showed. I think that it's a little bit more, the REST API is a little bit more flexible because you're not tied to a specific language. Essentially, you can just use the API that it comes with in whatever language you want. And if you had other steps that you were doing before you executed those commands, like if you were also getting the data ready as what we do on our team, we have programs that get the data ready. And then once it's ready, we call the REST APIs, and we just found that it's more flexible, but some of the steps could probably be done with tab command.
Okay. Are there any security concerns that you're aware of with using the REST API?
Not well. I guess the only one is just make sure that your username and password, is secure. As far as, and also just using like the SSL connection, so the HTTPS instead of HTTP. But like I said, using the personal access token, that which I use, the great thing about that is that you can revoke the token like right after it, if it is compromised or you think that somebody who saw it shouldn't have seen it. So you can always go into Tableau server and just revoke it. And that is really only used for the REST API. So it's not used to actually log in to Tableau server. So.
Okay. And final question, there's apparently some issues recently where extracts that use shapefiles have not been refreshing properly. Sounds like Tableau might be working on it, but are you aware of any workaround or how to get around that in the meantime?
Not that I know of. That API that I showed you for the extract refresh, it should be equivalent to what would happen is if you're on Tableau Online and you click refresh now. So if it's not working there or it's not working as well as it could there, then the API really won't help any of that. So.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sam. We appreciate the presentation.
Yeah.
I actually have a follow-up question for you. I'll take offline.
Okay.
We're almost out of time here, so we'll finish up our agenda. Just have a couple of announcements for you. Nicole?
Yeah, so upcoming on September 28th, if you're not familiar with Brandy Beals from the Milwaukee group is running a data book club. We can get you information on that in the follow-up email if you're interested in joining that. October 2nd, as Jen talked about before, is going to be another Munch volunteering opportunity. October 21st, our next meeting will be with Wisconsin Tub. And then the 9th to the 11th is the Tableau conference, which is virtual again this year, and it's also free. So if you're interested in that, definitely get signed up for that. Next meeting after that will be the Milwaukee Tug on November 18th, and then Madison will be on the 16th of December.
Lots of content coming your way over the rest of the year.
Yeah, definitely. And then we're going to ask Pat to take over here and get us 3 winners for today's drawing.
Yes, great job today, everyone. Thanks to Rasta at Tableau, we have 3 e-learning certificates to give away today, and the winners were randomly chosen from a combination of people who had asked questions and just showed up today. So showing up is part of part of the participation that we want to see. So congratulations to those winners, Emily Holden, April Belshaw, and Julia Welch. I will email you the certificates. Congrats.
Fantastic. Thank you all.
One last thing to add in. So Tora just shared that the Norway tug, which is going to be virtual, is on October 27th if you're interested in joining his tug.
Is it in English? Oh, it's in Norwegian.
Norwegian.
Well, that counts probably most of us now. Thanks for the invitation, though.
Then here's a couple ways you can keep in touch with us. If you haven't joined already, please join our Slack channel to find out information about our upcoming meetings as well.
And as always, if you are interested in presenting in a future meeting and have a topic you'd like to cover, we'd love to hear from you. We love showcasing our TUG members and the things that they're working on. So please reach out to any of us on the leadership team if you're interested in being a presenter in our next meeting or any future meeting. And thank you all so much for being here today. It was great to connect with you, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.